All right, folks, this tutorial is going to be on dimensioning. At this point, you've learned the rules of dimensioning by following along with my PowerPoint in class. I've most likely posted that dimensioning PowerPoint to Classroom, so you can always follow along or review it as necessary. There's a lot of rules there, I know. Let's review some of the major ones. Firstly, always do all the dimensions they do on the master copy. If they've got 9, you should have 9. If they've got 5, you should have 5. So always do exactly the same amount they do on the master copy. That's how you know that you won't lose points for failing to have enough or too many dimensions. Also, some of the main rules we talked about, dimensions should always go to inside edges. Inside adjacent views. These are inside edges. This edge, these edges, this edge, and these would also be considered inside edges. This edge here across the top, and this edge also considered inside edges. Those are where dimensions should be placed when possible. This would be considered the outside. Outside edge, outside, all around the outside edges. Now, as we learned, dimensions can go on an outside edge when the shape deems it necessary. So when there is contour on an outside edge, it could be any outside edge. If there is contour, one of the rules says put the dimensions closest to the contour. Well, if the contour is on an outside edge, then your dimensions can go on an outside edge. Otherwise, they should go to an inside edge. The other rule says put them, put them around, spread them out, but use those rules, and don't repeat dimensions. You got to make it look nice. Line them up. We learned about chain dimensioning, datum dimensioning, right? So I'm going to dimension this with you. This is our, kind of learning experience, walking through this one together. So I'm going to show you how I do it, just so you can kind of see the process through. We learned how to do center lines already. I can review that real quick with you too. If I just delete these two, I can show you how to do them again. So this one is for the holes, and this one is for when you have the side view of the hole, the tunnel, if you will, where you're putting in a center line. You just click on both of the hidden lines, and it drops the center line in between. So those are the two that we primarily use, and that's under the Annotate tab. Okay, so I'm going to use the dimension tool here, and we're going to start going around looking at our master copy. I like to put my overall length in the front view when I can. It's an important dimension, and I just like seeing it in the front view. Now, I don't like it up here. We'd have an extremely long, obnoxious extension line if we put it up above here. I like it down here, honestly. Well, that's an outside edge. Yes, it is. But we could argue that that's where the contour is. The contour really for that part of the shape is right there across the bottom edge. So there's nothing wrong with that. So how do we drop the dimension in? Well, you literally just click on the line. If it's a continuous line from one edge to the other, you can just click on the line and pull the dimension and drop it where you want it. Now remember, you don't want it too close and you don't want it too far. It will snap to a sweet spot here where it kind of turns these lines a little dotted. So that's good. That's a good spot where it finds it for you. Click. Now, if I was doing something, just to show you an example, if I was going to do it up here, you can't click on a line anymore. You've got to click on endpoints. So you click on this endpoint, and then come down here and click on this endpoint, and then it finds it for you, and then you can come up and drop it in. But again, I don't like that. I don't like that long, obnoxious extension line that really throws off the look of the shape. Now, in order to delete this, as long as this is blue, as long as that tool is currently on, if I click on that, I'm going to get a pop-up. And I can't delete it if that pop-up is popping up and if this is on. So you've got to hit escape. Hit the escape key on your keyboard. This goes away. This is not blue anymore. It's not on. I've cleared it. Now I can click on it, and I can also not only delete it, but I could move it, which you'll have to do sometimes. You can move the number around. You can move the number outside. So you have different options, but you cannot do that if this is on. So you have to hit escape to do that. All right, now here's another thing. If they do fractions on the master copy, then you do fractions. Well, that's not a fraction. So, well, I'm going to show you how you can fix it. I'm going to show you how you can do it ahead of time. So now that it's already there, I can click on it, again with this off. If I click on it, here's where I change it from decimals to fractions. Now it's updated. So I can update it if I forget. Likewise, I can do it ahead of time. I can do it while I'm dimensioning or before I drop the dimension. So now with this on, I can come over here, put it on fractional right away, and then I can do the dimension. So let's do another one. Let's do this one. Let's do the width of this. This is an outside edge. That'd be no good. I don't want to put it there. That's an outside edge. I don't have to put it there. I could put it here, and that's a better spot. Now what's going to happen when you guys click to drop in a dimension, this box is always going to pop up. Now for me, it's not popping up every time. I double clicked it and it popped up. But for you, it's always going to pop up. And that's because this is checked. So if you don't want this to pop up every time, if it annoys you, it doesn't matter, just say okay. But if it annoys you, just uncheck this box and then it won't keep coming up. But this is an important box to have. We need this menu. We need this to make modifications later. But that's okay. We can always get it back. Even if you uncheck this, we can always get it back by just clicking on the dimension. It'll come right back. All right. Now, if I hit escape and clear this, just remember, if I go back to it, it goes back to standard, back to decimal. So you got to go put it back on. I know it's a little bit annoying. So with fractions turned on, let's go around and keep dimensioning. So again, put dimensions where the contour is. Well, here's an important dimension. So is it better here or here? Where's the contour? The contour is here. This is where the contour is. This is where you really see the contour of the shape. So we're going to put that here. Okay. And we've got some dimensions here for how to find center. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to go. Now, remember in my discussion before, we have to go to the center line. You dimension to the center line. The extension line needs to go all the way to the end of the center line. So I'm going to click on this endpoint, and I'm going to click on this endpoint. All right. Notice the space that it leaves, that little space. That is how it should be. Okay. A lot of people have a tendency to do this. Click in the middle. Then there's no space. Other people have a tendency to do this. Now the extension line does not go all the way to the center line. Now if you do that, you can easily adjust it. Forgot to hit escape. If you click on this, you can drag that extension line wherever you want it to go and adjust it. You can move it somewhere else, wherever you. So if you mess up, you can easily fix it without having to redo the dimension. Now I forgot to put it on fractional, so we'll flip that over. All right. What else do we have here? We have the different sizes for the holes and this radius. We are using the same tool. Do not use this one. Just use the same dimensioning tool. for diameters and radius. So you literally just click on the edge of the radius or the diameter. Okay, so I'm going to do this in this view, and I'm going to put it on a little bit less than 45, and then I'm going to do this one for the radius, and I'm going to put it right above it, a little more than 45-ish, just so they fit both nice. And the reason I didn't do this one up here is because I need dimensions here for these holes, so that's why I did it in this view. Now, escape. Remember, I keep forgetting, but it's a simple fix. You can always click on these and put them back on fractional when you forget. Now, on your master copy, it says something. It says 3 holes. If it says that on the master copy, that's information you also need to include. You have to do the same thing. So if we double click this, get that window back, now's where we need this. This is a good reason to explain why we need this to pop up sometimes. Now, this is the current level where these numbers are. I know they don't put the numbers there, but that is kind of the first line. So I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to drop down 1 line, and I'm going to type 3 holes. Notice it populates right away. You can see it. Always all caps, right? All text is always caps in mechanical drawing. Say okay. Great. That's done. Now we need to dimension these 2 holes. Come over here this time. Remember to turn on fractional. We're going from this endpoint to this end of the center line there. Now we're going from center line to center line. Line them up, chain dimension them. It'll do it for you if you snap to that area that it finds for you. Real easy. You always put these dimensions in the view where the hole is. Some people have a tendency to put them down here. That's the tunnel view. I don't like putting these in this view where the tunnel is. I want them where the hole is, where the actual circle is in view like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the last dimension we need is this. You can't click one of the little dots. You got to click when the line is just highlighted. Or again, you can click both endpoints. Again, this is where the contour is. That is where the contour of that shape is. I don't want it here. If I can help it, I don't need to put it there. I can put it right here where the contour is, inside the view, on an inside edge. Perfect. That's it. All 9 dimensions are there. And let me show you one more thing about how to modify these. I already showed you that as long as this is turned off, hit escape, you can move the numbers around. Well, there's something kind of cool that you can do if you right click on the arrowhead and go to options. Remember, we talked about how arrows can sometimes be in, out, numbers can be in and out. We can make the arrows pop out and the numbers go in. And that looks really nice. So right click on the arrowhead, options, and you can mess around with what happens to the arrowheads, whether they go in, whether they go out, whether the number's in or out. So some cool things there that you can adjust, and I really like that. Okay. Alright, so yours should look like mine. Give it a once over before you hand them in. Now this one I'm just going to visually grade most likely on your screen, but give it a once over, double check it, make sure it looks good, everything's lined up nicely, dimensions are on the inside edges, where the contour is, you've got all the ones on the master copy that you need, and you're good to go.